Truth be told, IKEA's food can be a minefield. Some items are sugar bombs or soggy disasters, while others are hidden gems. These are 8 IKEA food products that you should never eat, and a few you should definitely try. By now, we all know the drill. You go in for a single pack of spoons or maybe a new bath mat, and 3 hours later, you're wandering through the self-serve warehouse wondering how a sectional sofa ended up in your cart. By the time you hit that checkout line, you're exhausted, you're slightly dehydrated, and you're starving. But the smell of those meatballs is calling you to go and try them, pulling you toward the cafeteria. Here's the thing that most people don't realize until they're halfway through a plate of lukewarm gravy. Not everything at the IKEA food court or the Swedish food market is a Swedish masterpiece. In fact, some of the items they sell are legendary for all the wrong reasons. We're talking about massive sugar bombs, textures that feel like recycled cardboard, and sodium levels that will make your rings feel tight before you even get to the parking lot. Luckily, we did research for you and we've gone through the latest reviews from 2025 and 2026, scrolled through the social media rants, and even checked the nutritional data to see what's really going on behind IKEA's famous food section. What we found might surprise you. As we mentioned, there are 8 IKEA food products you should probably never eat, along with a few hidden gems that are actually worth your hard-earned money. Let's start with the absolute biggest offender on the list, and this one hurts a little because the packaging is honestly adorable. We're talking about the Drick Bubble series. You've probably seen these in the IKEA food market before. They sit there in those beautiful glass bottles with swing tops or elegant labels, usually in flavors like apple or lingonberry. In fact, at first glance, they look like the kind of sophisticated non-alcoholic cider you'd proudly serve at a brunch. But the moment we flip that bottle around and check the sugar content, the illusion disappears fast. Because a single serving of the apple and lingonberry sparkling drink can contain close to 40 grams of sugar, which is actually more than what you'd find in a standard can of cola. In reality, it's basically liquid candy disguised as a classy Swedish beverage. A friendly reminder, if you're thirsty, you're honestly better off sticking to water or one of the lower sugar pear drinks, because these bubbles are basically a recipe for a headache. Next on the list is a classic trap for anyone trying to eat a little healthier, and that's the Huvudroll vegetable balls. Now, we have to be clear here about what we're talking about. Those are the older vegetable balls, the ones made from visible chunks of corn, peas, and mixed vegetables. On paper, they sound like the perfect choice because they're vegan, they contain vegetables, and they seem like a lighter alternative to the traditional meatballs with gravy. But in practice, the story is very different. Because they lack the natural richness and savory flavor that meat provides, manufacturers often compensate by adding a lot of salt just to make them taste acceptable. The result is a surprisingly high sodium content. Then there's the texture, which is another common complaint. They can come out extremely dry and crumbly, or oddly mushy in the center, which makes the whole experience feel a little off. For many people, they end up tasting like little more than bland vegetable filler with too much salt. If you're craving something plant-based at IKEA, it's honestly better to skip these and choose the newer plant balls instead. They're far more satisfying, and our taste buds will definitely notice the difference. Moving on to something that honestly breaks our hearts to mention, we have to talk about the bistro-style cinnamon rolls. We've all walked past the little bistro near the IKEA exit and caught that incredible cinnamon smell. After wandering through the entire showroom and warehouse, it feels like the perfect reward. But unless we happen to catch those rolls the exact moment they come out of the oven, the experience usually ends up being disappointing. Because they often sit under heat lamps for long stretches of time, the dough can turn dense, chewy, and oddly heavy. Even the frosting doesn't always help, since it can develop this strange waxy texture that sticks to your palate. If we're really craving Swedish cinnamon buns, a much better move is to head into the food market and grab the frozen pack instead. We also need to mention the korvmaj vegetable hot dogs. It's made with the ingredients like kale, lentils, and quinoa. which on paper sounds like a superfood dream. But when those ingredients are shaped into a hot dog, the result doesn't always work the way we might hope. Instead of that firm bite or the classic snap you expect from a hot dog, the texture often ends up soft and oddly mushy, almost like wet stuffing. On top of that, it's surprisingly low in protein for something that's supposed to serve as a quick meal replacement. So if we're grabbing a fast bite at the end of a long IKEA trip, the better option is usually the newer plant-based hot dogs that actually mimic the texture of real meat. Let's go back into the main cafeteria for a moment and talk about the pre-packaged Caesar salad. It might seem like the responsible choice when you're surrounded by meatballs and fried fish, but this is one item you're better off skipping. These salads are often prepared well in advance and sit in refrigerated displays for hours. By the time you grab one, the croutons are soggy, the Parmesan can look strangely translucent, and the lettuce is often limp or starting to brown at the edges. It's the kind of meal that leaves you both unsatisfied and disappointed. If you want something green, the hot side dishes like steamed peas or seasonal vegetables are usually a much fresher option. Another risky choice is the garlic lemon cod. In photos, it looks fantastic. A clean white fillet with a bright sauce, but fish in a high-volume cafeteria setting is always unpredictable. Simply because it sits in warming trays or gets reheated quickly, the texture can change from day to day. Sometimes it's fine, but other times it's rubbery, overcooked, or even slightly frozen in the center. If the fish has been sitting out too long, the flavor can also become very strong and sometimes even unsafe to eat. If you're craving seafood, the cured salmon or shrimp salad are much better choices since it's served cold. Unfortunately, dessert can be tricky too. The banoffee pie looks amazing with its layers of cream and toffee, but many people find it surprisingly bland. Instead of rich caramel and banana flavor, it often tastes like vague sweetness with heavy cream. If you're choosing just one dessert, stick with the classic Dame cake, which has a much stronger reputation. So, what's actually worth eating? The newer plant balls are surprisingly good. The lingonberry jam is a must-bring, and the creamy mashed potato tubes are worth trying. The salmon plate with dill sauce is one of the safest meals. The Swedish pancakes with lingonberry jam are a classic for a reason, and the Dame cake remains number one as a dessert. By the time you reach the food section at IKEA, you've already walked half a marathon through showrooms and warehouses. The food is supposed to recharge you, not leave you regretting your choices. The trick is knowing which items are worth your money and which ones actually ruin the entire experience. So, next time you decide to take a bite while in IKEA, keep these tips in mind. It'll save you money and you will actually feel full after. Now, what's your go-to IKEA snack? Or maybe you have some more not to buy tips? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more tricks and tips.